I'm James Holder, welcome to Full Court Football 24. Quite privileged to be joined by Rich Energy CEO, none other than William Storey. How are you, William?
Hello James, very well thank you.
Glad to hear it. Today I'd like to discuss your bid for Sunderland Football Club. The whole takeover and everything that's been going on. Massive news potentially for Sunderland. Can you tell us where you're at currently with the bid?
Yeah, I've been working on the Sunderland bid for about 5 months now. As everyone knows, Sunderland is a phenomenal club. In my opinion, in the top 7 clubs in the UK. They've won the league 6 times, which puts them 6th in British history, with probably the 7th biggest fan base in the country. They've got an incredibly knowledgeable and loyal fan base, an amazing stadium, an amazing area. Football's like a religion up there. I've admired them as a club for many, many years. So when the opportunity came along to potentially buy them, then I jumped at it. We've worked very hard. I've managed to assemble some brilliant people, including some very, very big names in the world of business, some real blue chip names, some world-class people that I've managed to assemble together in the team. And we are now at a position where I am confident that we are going to take over the club, and I feel that we can propel it forward into the future.
Looking at the current infrastructure of the club, do you think there'll be many changes made if and when your consortium are successful?
I think the infrastructure of the club is there. I mean, the stadium, the academy, the setup there in terms of all of that infrastructure is already at a world-class level. I think what the club needs in terms of moving forward is investment. It needs an injection of momentum and excitement, and it needs some new players, some big names, and it needs the fans to be really energised moving forward as the club's propelled back towards the Premier League, which is where, frankly, it deserves to be.
How much significant investment will you guys be looking at putting into the playing staff?
Well, I think I've quoted as saying that above and beyond the purchase price, we would be looking at putting a minimum of £50 million into the playing squad. Obviously, there is a current topical issue around a salary cap in League One, but we would obviously look to inject capital immediately and get the best players that we could. And obviously, the objective would be to be in the Championship next year, and obviously investigate into the Championship, and then thereafter propel it very strongly towards the Premier League. And I'd be confident with 50 million into players at the Championship level, you would be in a position where, if the acquisitions were sensible, you could be looking towards promotion into the Premier League pretty quickly.
How long would your plan be for the club for them to
It's a long-term plan. I mean, I've said to a lot of people, we're not looking to get in, buy it and flip it. This is a long-term 10-year plan to take Sunderland back to the very pinnacle of British football. They deserve to be there. Their fan base is unprecedented. It's brilliant. So I think it's an exciting long-term project for me. Obviously, I'm an entrepreneur. I do a lot of different businesses with Rich Energy, Wolf Data Systems and others. But this would be complementary and would be a real passion project, and it's a long-term investment. I've managed to get people behind me who are, in some cases, lifelong Sunderland fans, in all cases, very, very successful business people. We've got one billionaire among them, and we feel very, very confident that we can push forward very quickly. And it's a wonderful opportunity. I mean, I've said to people, I wouldn't be interested in owning any other football club apart from Sunderland.
We saw the documentary Sunderland Till I Die. How much damage do you think that did to the club commercially?
I wouldn't say it damaged it at all. I mean, I would say that it's created a lot of interest around the club. From memory, I think the viewing figures were something like 52 million in the US, so I think it's projected Sunderland to an international audience. I think a lot of people who are casual football fans wouldn't have realised just how world-class the support base was there. Obviously, Netflix, and I've done Netflix myself in Formula One with Drive to Survive, but Netflix are looking for drama and they're looking for intrigue, etc. But I think overall, in terms of the actual club and the fans, I don't think that there was any negative connotations at all.
Do you think Sunderland is a sleeping giant and can be that powerhouse in the North East again?
I think
to football?
Without question. I mean, it's one of the biggest clubs in the country. I mean, to me, it is far and away the best club in the North East. I think the fan base there is fanatical. The fact they're getting 30,000 in League One is phenomenal and testament to that. And without being funny, Newcastle dipped below 10,000 at one point. So I think in terms of loyalty, in terms of knowledge, in terms of quality of fans, I think Sunderland are far and away the top club in the North East. And I think, without a shadow of a doubt, they deserve to be at the top table of English football. And I think they'll get back there sooner rather than later. I hope that it's with me and my team leading that charge.
You've been at the forefront of this consortium's bid to buy Sunderland. Can you give us any information on the other partners who are involved in the bid?
Yeah, so a little bit of background. In January, I was having, and this is how it came to pass, I was having dinner with a very good friend of mine who runs a big restaurant group in London, who's a Sunderland fan, and we were talking about what was happening with the club, where was it in terms of ownership, where was it going. That intrigued me, because I didn't know everything that was going on. Obviously, I'm a big football fan, so I was familiar with the outside view. And that led on to a conversation with Ellis Short, who was the former owner, who'd pumped in hundreds of millions to the club and had effectively bequeathed it to the current ownership. He'd written off about £80 million worth of debt. And, although, he obviously had people like Niall Quinn, and he had other names, Di Canio, various different managers involved. Well, Di Canio came a little bit later, but the bottom line is that Short pumped a lot of money in, but probably didn't spend it wisely. I think his heart was in the right place, but it went a little bit awry. And I spoke to Ellis, who's a top businessman, Irish-American financier, and he was very supportive. He gave me a lot of background information as to what was happening, and that gave me confidence that I could move forward, and there was an opportunity to really add value to this club. I then went to a number of contacts of mine, one who's one of the richest men in the Far East, one who's a major magnate in the insurance industry, and some people who are very well known in the sports industry and in the City of London. And I pulled together a collection of a group of people who were passionate in supporting my vision. They realised that I had the ability to take the club forward, and I was fortunate enough that they'd back me.
What does this mean to Sunderland Football Club if this bid is successful?
Well, what it means, hopefully, is a new era and a new exciting chapter in the club's history. I mean, I will be 100% committed to propelling this club forward, and I'm doing it from the position of a passionate football fan who sees this as a massive opportunity. And, I would cite, if you look at somebody like Brian Clough, for example, what he did, who I personally think is one of the greatest figures in British football history by a country mile. He took, people forget initially, but he took Derby County, who were a provincial club, to the League Championship, and he did that by getting the right people, injecting massive enthusiasm into the fan base, by putting the right management team in, getting the right players and getting them super motivated. He then fell out with the board, probably because he was too outspoken, and then he went to little old Nottingham Forest down the road. And what happened with Nottingham Forest? Won the league and then won European Championship twice, the European Cup twice, Nottingham Forest. And that was basically a group of people who were incredibly motivated, who knew the game, who got the right people in, got them working for each other, who got the fan base on board, and they achieved unprecedented success. And frankly, if success is relative to where you start, Clough is without question the best manager in British football history. Taking Man United to success or Liverpool to success is one thing, but to take a club like Nottingham Forest to the European Cup twice is testament to his ability. Now imagine if a modern day Brian Clough or somebody like Clough was manager at Sunderland. I mean, the potential is almost limitless. There's a lot of people involved in football, and if you look at, you'll know, James, you're a fan, but look at Mark Goldberg at Palace, a fanatical lifelong fan, went in, £35 million, rinsed by Terry Venables, lost a lot, no benefit. Tony Fernandez went into QPR, same thing with Redknapp and Mark Hughes, wasted a lot of money, didn't actually get anywhere for the investment. To a certain extent, he's a very nice guy, but Ellis Short spent a lot of money, didn't necessarily get the success. There's multiple examples. Everton are finally coming good after 3 years of spending a lot of money. Spending money is the number one ingredient because you need resources for success, but it also needs to be well spent, and even down to choosing the right manager. So everything needs to be right, but you need to bring in world-class people from the management team to the board, to players' representatives, even in terms of, the sort of things that I can add. I brought 5 major world-class companies into boxing. Huge blue chip organisations that weren't sponsoring boxing, I brought them into boxing. I did all the commercials on some of Golovkin's fights. I've put people into boxing, imagine what you can do with football. Football is the #1 sport out there. You know, if you look at the BBC website, football's #1, Formula One #2. Well, I've been in Formula One. We've got more media value than any other drink there, and Rich Energy now, we've got an order book that is going through the roof. The challenge with football is fantastic, and I think to actually have something like Sunderland is an unprecedented opportunity.
I would like to talk a little bit about your work with Rich Energy as well.
Yep.
I know this is a drinks company that's been taking the UK and abroad by storm. Can you give us a little history on the company and how you founded it?
Yeah, Rich Energy was a company that I mean, background very quick. I met somebody in 2014 who created a better drink than the market leaders. I met them and felt that I could bring a certain amount of marketing ability and sales ability and commercial acumen to propel that brand onto the world level. I said to everyone in 2015, Rich Energy will be bigger than Monster and Red Bull. Everyone laughed at me. 2016, we had 10 world champion ambassadors. 2017, we were partnering with Premier League football clubs, world title fights, the biggest sailing events in the world. 2018, we signed, well, I actually tried to buy Force India, the F1 team. I then did a title partnership deal with Haas, so we had Rich Energy Haas F1, which was signed in October 18. So de facto, we had our own Formula One team, black and gold, Rich Energy. Our competitors like Red Bull were very unhappy about that, but the reality was we were propelling it to an international audience. We then got an evaluation in May 19 of 150 million. And I had problems with competitors and some shareholders who wanted to some investors who wanted to try and steal the business. They failed. I carried it on. We're now enjoying a massive renaissance, and I'm very confident now that Rich Energy will fulfill everything that I've said, which it will become one of the market leaders in the energy drink business. And that is an £80 billion a year business, by the way. And in 5 short years, we've got a 9-figure business.
Are Rich Energy now involved with a motorbike racing team also?
We've now got a British superbike team, which is Rich Energy AMG Racing. We are, you know, without question, have got the best looking bike on the grid. We've got the best corporate hospitality in British superbikes. They were a brilliant team that we've done a partnership with that is working really well. We've now got Alvaro Bautista, who's one of the finest riders in the world in World Superbikes, now an ambassador for Rich Energy. And we have a raft of announcements coming where Rich Energy is becoming a major force in the energy drink and motorsport world. Yesterday I was at Silverstone. We've got, you know, there were hundreds of people drinking Rich Energy, and we had our brand all over several vehicles in British touring cars. So we are in a great position. It's been a very interesting challenge building this business, but we're at that, I would say we're getting to the final steps of becoming a serious, you know, for want of a better word, Leviathan within the beverage industry.
When can we expect news regarding the Consortiums bid for Sunderland and what the outcome of that bid is?
Well, in terms of Sunderland right now, and I've said this, you know, with interviews with newspapers, etc., I am under NDA, so I can't obviously discuss the terms. But, you know, I was hoping to get this deal done before the season started. We've obviously got to respect the parameters of the existing ownership and the politics, etc., at the club. But I am very confident that we can get this deal done sooner rather than later. And I think we've taken some big steps forward. And frankly, we would want as much time as possible to invest money and propel forward. So I'm optimistic it will be sooner rather than later. I can't give you an exact date because I'm actually not in charge of the timings. From our perspective, we have done everything that we can, and we feel increasingly confident we can get this deal done. Furthermore, I would say that the current owners have been, you know, very professional, very clear, and frankly, you know, we applaud them for how they're doing this, and you know, and I believe that we can get a deal done, and I've found them fine to deal with.
Sunderland are currently 5th in the league. Manager Phil Parkinson's got them playing some good football. Do you feel the current squad is good enough for your long-term goals?
I don't think the squad can ever be good enough. You can always improve a squad. Phil Parkinson is a very interesting point because I can't talk about a manager in a club that I don't own yet, and it wouldn't be correct or fair to discuss that or speculate on management. What I would say is that I've got a lot of friends who are actually bizarrely Colchester United fans, and Phil Parkinson did wonders at Colchester United, so he's got a track record of doing well on limited resources. I think he's assembled a team that is solid at League One level. Clearly, as the club becomes more successful, you'd want to improve the squad, but they've got some really good players there now.
Has the COVID restrictions and regulations affected your business or your trade with regards to Rich Energy or regards to any of the companies you're involved with?
Well, I mean, the fact is that we've been under this preposterous lockdown for several months, so you couldn't say, in all honesty, that it hasn't affected you. I have ensured that we've minimised any impact on us. I've been working non-stop since day one, and I feel actually, in a bizarre way, we've probably taken some great steps forward, because I've had me and my team working incredibly hard over the last 6 months. Many of our customers haven't even been working, and many of our competitors haven't been working either. So we've actually made huge progress with my technology business, and we've just agreed £10 million worth of deals in the last month. And frankly, most of our competitors aren't even in the office at the moment. So in a peculiar way, we've probably gained from it, but not despite it, not because of it. I mean, we've just worked very, very hard. I mean, I personally think, and I think more people are starting to realise this, and I've said it from day one, I think that coronavirus is an absolute scam. I would go that far. I think it is and history will show this, it is a medical fraud, and it is a construct of erroneous recategorisation statistically and propaganda. And I think it is also, which will become hopefully clear to more people, a massive financial heist. And what has happened in the last 6 months is hedge funds have had a bonanza, banks have had a bigger bailout than '08, pharmaceutical companies, this is their Gulf War. It's an absolute bonanza for the pharmaceutical business. They're actually getting their products mandated by vaccine salesmen, politicians, and of course, ordinary people have had their economic prospects, their jobs and their civil liberties decimated. And I think that, frankly, what has happened is an absolute disgrace, all under the guise of what's good for you. Obviously, if you're numerate, and I happen to do maths at university, and you actually look at the figures, it's embarrassing. Average deaths are 8% down, or number of deaths last week are 8% lower than the 5-year average in a pandemic. It's never even been an epidemic, frankly. And last week, less than 1% of British deaths were linked to COVID, not from COVID, linked to it. So in essence, it is currently, flu is killing 5 times more people as of last week, and the average age of a victim of COVID is 82. So the average age of a man who dies in Britain is 79. So it's a complete nonsense. It is of no risk whatsoever to healthy people. But yet, if you watch BBC News and you read the newspapers, you would think there was some Armageddon bubonic plague. I mean, it's an absolute farce. It's actually so bad, it's embarrassing, and yet politicians seem to be living in a parallel universe. So I think it's a disgrace, and ordinary people need to wake up.
Would you be taking the vaccine if and when it's offered?
I think James, that I would be telling them to do one, and I would be actively encouraging anyone who had a brain to do the same. It's absolutely pathetic. And another little fact for you is that flu with a vaccine kills vastly more than COVID without a vaccine. So it's a slightly inconvenient truth, but it's total nonsense. You're getting whistleblowers now. There's a lot of people online realise it's a load of bollocks. But unfortunately, all 10 newspapers and TV stations seem not to be articulating the truth. But let's see, I think there's a turning point, but I think it is an absolute scandal. I think it makes Blair's weapons of mass destruction look like small beer.
Do you think there's an agenda behind it all?
Well, there's got to be, hasn't there? Because why would you decimate the economy and civil liberties for no reason? But as I said, look at the winners. There are huge numbers of people making a huge amount of money from this. I mean, the 5,000 richest people in the world have doubled their wealth in the last 3 months, and ordinary people have had their job prospects, freedoms, civil liberties absolutely destroyed. So I'd say it's unprecedented. If somebody had told you 7 months ago this was going to happen, you'd have laughed at them. It's literally unbelievable. But as I said, there's got to be an agenda, because politicians can't be that innumerate and they can't be that incompetent, although obviously they are incompetent.
time frame potentially for the Sunderland bid? Anything you can tell us with regards to when we can expect an announcement?
As soon as possible. I mean, obviously we want it done as soon as possible, and we're optimistic that will happen.
William Storey, thank you ever so much for your time today. It's been a great pleasure to talk some things over with you.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to hearing some news regarding the bid in the near future. Thank
Lovely.
you very much.
Brilliant, James. Thanks a lot.